Warning: this video contains strong language and graphic photos. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Hooked. My name is Leanne, and if you're new here, Hooked is where we tell some true crime cases and do some crochet projects together. On today's episode, I will be crocheting the head to this teddy bear that I'm making for my godson for Christmas. I know I should have started this weeks ago, but it's okay. I'm gonna get my life together one of these days. I actually was watching a tutorial on how to do this from a girl named Maham. I'm sorry if I did say that wrong. But she has a written pattern that you can follow as well. So I will definitely put the link to her video in the description to this video. Shout out to her. And we will also be talking about Tina Brown, who is a Florida woman on death row. And honestly, she deserved to be under the prison as she waits to be executed because something wrong with her. On March 24th, 2010, Tina Brown, her 16-year-old daughter, Brittany Miller, and her friend Heather Lee called 19-year-old Audreanna Zimmerman over to Heather's mobile home to mend their friendship. Also at the home at the time was Brittany's 13-year-old friend, but we're not going to name her because she wasn't really a part of what happened to Audreanna. She just unfortunately had a front row seat. Brittany even told her friend, 13-year-old friend, "We're fixing to kill Audreanna Zimmerman." Could you even imagine being 13 years old and your friend tells you that her mom, and her mom's friend are about to kill somebody? Like, no. Someone call my ride. I need to go right now. So, how did we get here? All four of these women, Audreanna, Tina, Brittany, and Heather, all lived in the same trailer park fairly close to one another. There was Brittany, who lived with her mother, Tina, Audreanna, who had two very young kids living with her, and I'm not 100% sure if Heather lived with anybody. I didn't get real much information on that, so let's just say for right now she was living alone. And they all considered each other pretty good friends, but it was a very toxic friendship with a lot of altercations, most of the time ending with Brittany and Audreanna fighting. Tina once claimed that Audreanna slashed her tires. Audreanna claims that Tina busted one of her car windows, called the police on her boyfriend, and even called Job and Family Services, basically saying that Audreanna was an unfit mother and she wasn't taking care of her kids. And honestly, that would have pissed me off knowing that I'm a damn good mom, you know? But this is all alleged, so I don't know how true each claims were from either side. So Brittany thought Adriana had sex with her boyfriend, and of course, this made her mad. Someone that she considered a friend having sex with her boyfriend. But honestly, it's kind of confusing because she put all of her anger towards Adriana and not the guy at all. Like, that's who you were in a relationship with. But Brittany went to confront Adriana, and things escalated from a verbal altercation to physical. And Brittany attempted to punch Adriana, but she wasn't just going to stand there and get punched. She defended herself, and she did this by tasing Brittany with a taser. She fucked around and found out, is what happened. I'm sorry, y'all. I thought this was hilarious when I read it. Like, can you imagine just her going in for the punch and just being stupid? Get away from me. Like, that's me, because I don't fight. You hit me wrong and like my knee or my back or something, and I'm gonna be down. Like, I'm getting to the age now where my bones is a little weak now. You can't just be out here fighting and stuff like that. That ain't, you gonna fuck around and find out. But of course, Brittany told her mom, and Tina went to full blown attack mode, which I'm not mad at all. If that was my child telling me that somebody tased her, I'd be on it. Whoever it was, I'd be ready to go find them. Tina said that she was going to get Adriana for doing that to her daughter, and all bets are off. And I understand her at that time, but it's what she did later that put her on death row, where she currently is now waiting to be executed. So, as I said earlier, Tina called Adriana over the night of March 24th to fix their relationship. And as they waited for her to get there, Heather was in the kitchen with Tina, showing her the proper way to use a taser. And Brittany was basically just bragging to her, again, 13-year-old friend, telling her that what they're about to do and that they're fixing to kill Audriana Zimmerman. Well, it was a little after 9 p.m. when Audriana arrived, and Tina waited several minutes before she just started to continuously tase Audriana. Even after Audriana lost control of her muscles and fell to the floor, Tina still continued to tase her. Now, of course, at this point, Audriana was in tons of pain. She was begging Tina to stop, basically crying for help. Then Tina pulls her into the bathroom where Brittany starts punching her in the face. And at the same time, Heather is gagging her with a sock trying to keep her quiet. Now pause. This is where they can be done. But no, these three sick ass women put her in the trunk of Tina's car and drove her to a wooded area a mile and a half away from where they live. Because they're just geniuses. Like, what in the world? As soon as they open the trunk, Adriana tries to run away, but she ends up tripping because it was dark and she couldn't really see where she was going, on top of being in the woods. Tina and Brittany begin attacking Adriana. One of them had a crowbar and the other one had a taser, just viciously beating her with the crowbar and continuously tasing her. They even switched weapons and continued to attack this poor girl. Let's not forget, Adriana is only 19 and she has two kids. I couldn't imagine being in that situation, being attacked by these women. Adriana only went to go meet them because she thought that they were going to repair their friendship. And now she's being beaten by these women that she considered friends. Brittany started punching Adriana in the face while Tina went back to the car to retrieve a gas can from her trunk. She then goes back over to the badly beaten Adriana and douses her with gasoline. She gets a lighter out of her pocket and then sets Adriana on fire alive. They watched as Adriana burned and screamed in pain. Heather later said she was standing next to Brittany, who was excitedly jumping up and down, screaming, "Burn, bitch, burn." This little girl is like troubled and deeply disturbed. Like, she's only 16 years old and she's excited and finding pleasure out of doing this to another human being. Like, you need help. They watched her for a couple minutes as she burned and basically was struggling trying to live, and then they got back in the car and drove home. On the car ride back, Brittany tells Tina that they need to go back because she left her shoes and the taser there. Because again, she's a genius. Tina refuses, and that's a good thing because Adriana survived and was able to walk a third of a mile to a nearby house. And if they would have went back, they would have seen that she was gone, and who knows, maybe they would have tried to finish the job. The three women went back to the trailer park and removed their blood-soaked clothes and shoes and put them in a garbage bag. Mind you guys, the 13-year-old friend was still there. And once Tina, Brittany, and Heather returned, Brittany told her friend that she hurt her hand while beating and setting fire to Adriana. Again, could you imagine what was going through this little girl's head? Like, if I was her, I would not be okay and not know what to do. I do know I would be looking for the nearest exit, and I'm sure that's what she was doing. But of course, Brittany threatens her, and if she could do something like that to Adriana, she could definitely do it to her. Brittany's friend ends up going with her to the hospital to get her hand checked out, and while there, that's where Brittany decided to get rid of the bag and the blood. I'm broken. Brittany's friend ended up going with her to the hospital to get her hand checked out, and that's where Brittany ended up getting rid of the bag with the bloody clothes and shoes in it. A mile and a half away where they left Adriana, she was able to get enough strength to walk to a nearby house. Terrence was just outside his home chilling when he heard a faint cry that seemed to get closer and closer. He realized that it was a woman begging for help. She was badly beaten and burned. She sat on the steps as he called 911. But the woman was so badly burnt that Terrence was having a really hard time trying to describe her to the 911 dispatcher. He couldn't even tell her race or if she had on any clothes. Her clothes and her skin basically was like melted together. Ugh, I could not imagine that.
911. What's going on out there? Somebody say somebody started burning up. Her, this lady on fire right now. She what? She burnt all up. You gotta. She burnt. She burnt. Somebody probably set the car on fire or something. I don't know. She just come out of the woods at my.
EMT was able to arrive around 9:24 and saw Audreanna rocking back and forth on the porch trying to comfort herself. Pause. Let's just talk about the time frame here. Audreanna met up with these women around 9 p.m. The EMT got there around 9:24. It took these women no time to ruin and ultimately end this young mother's life. EMT notes that Audreanna is severely burnt and has severe head trauma. She had like her skin basically falling off. He needed to get her to the hospital. She had over 80% of her body burnt. He couldn't even touch her without her skin rubbing off on his gloves. The crazy thing about all of this is Audreanna was still very alert and conscious after being put through all this. She was even able to tell first responders who was responsible for doing this to her. Badass Audreanna was even able to give the addresses of those pieces of absolute garbage of women. She gave her address as well and asked that someone would please go and check on her kids and protect them. She didn't know if these women were going to go after her kids next. While on the way to the hospital, Audreanna kept asking if she was going to be okay and kept saying that she thought everyone made up. First responders asked who did this to her, and this poor girl said her friends. Even in that moment, after everything they did to her, she still considered them her friends, which is really sad if you think about it. Like, for real, that hurt my heart. And unfortunately, she died from her injuries 2 weeks later. Well, because Audreanna was such a badass, Tina and Heather were taken in the same day or the same night, and Brittany was taken in when she got back from the hospital the next day. Let's just say Heather, she could not take the heat and ended up singing like a bird. This woman even tried to blame Brittany's 13-year-old friend for her parts in the crime that was committed. You know, like, girl, leave that little girl alone. She ain't do nothing. Like, what? Heather ended up pleading guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Brittany and Tina were both sentenced or both charged with first-degree murder, and Brittany was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and her mom was sentenced to death. I feel, honestly, they all just need to be put under the prison, and that's just my opinion. I mean, as far as Brittany, she's deeply troubled. Like, she really does need help. Like, to be so young and yet so evil, it's like, yeah, evil. That's the only word I can use to describe what happened to Audreanna. Here's my little bear's head. It'll actually look a lot better once it's stuffed. And I am doing something a little different with the stuffing. I did want to make it more of a calming bear, so I got some lavender oil. So I'm just going to put a little bit in there, a couple little drops in there, and then add in the stuffing. A little bit more. And then I like to make sure that we are nice and stuffed. All right. Right? A little. Well, guys, that was the tragic story of Audreanna Zimmerman. Let me know in the comments your opinions on the case and how you feel about it. And if you want to see the finished product of my little teddy bear that I'm making for my godson, follow me on Instagram at HookedWTrueCrime or on TikTok at HookedWTrueCrime. And make sure you subscribe. I'll be here for you every Wednesday. Love y'all. Bye. Y'all, I really cannot believe we are already on episode 8. Y'all have been rocking with me for almost 2 months every Wednesday, and I am so appreciative of all of the support that I'm getting from each and every one of you. I don't think anyone understands how overwhelmed and how happy I am with how everything is going, even though I'm just starting. I love you guys. And as season 1 is coming to an end, I am so excited for season 2 and all of the other seasons that are coming with it. I have so many ideas for y'all. I literally am ah I am going to take about a 3-week break from recording, but I will have Patreon during that time, so you can always join that. And I will definitely have something on there for y'all. Um, Again, I'm so appreciative of you guys. I love you guys, each and every one of you, and y'all stay safe out here in these streets, because what we be talking about.